Welcome back to the channel, M&M Dynamics. It's Ryan, Mike, and Marshall here doing a little something different today. I have come up with something new here. We like smooth throttles with our radios, and I've read and learned about the Teflon mod. And the Teflon mod is where you take the stock piece of heat shrink tubing that's off that I've seen on NX and IX radios, but not on
Oh, that's right, because it's got to come out that way.
but not on not on the IX14 recently when I helped someone do one. But basically, if you want a smoother operating throttle, if you're a ratchet guy, then this is not for you because you're defeating the purpose. So what we've done is we got Mike's IX20 SE here, and we got Mike's IX20 SE here. We've taken out the 8 screws off the back. I've just pulled the battery, and we're going to face it down on its face here, and we're going to pull the back off and split it.
All the screws are loose.
Yep, I'm going to go ahead and dump them all right now. So probably think we're all nuts for taking apart a $2,000 radio, but I've done this a few times, and I know what I'm doing, and it's not hard. If any of you have ever taken off the back of a radio to adjust your gimbals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws. So 6 screws on the IX20 SE. I think there's 8 on the NX series. I just did Ryan's earlier today. Ryan, zoom out maybe just a little, and it'll help. So we're going to face this down when we do the work. But right now, and this is with any radio that you want to split the case on, you don't have to take the grips off. Everybody thinks you have to take the grips off to get a radio apart. Horizon was smart in that they put the bond line right around the grips. So you do not have to take the grips off anymore. Okay? Inside you'll see 2 ribbon cables and a camera. You're simply flip up the tab, and the ribbon comes out. If you've done any electronic work or you've ever played around with DJI drones, you know what I'm talking about the little clamps that hold the ribbon cables down. And now we were freed up the other ribbon cable, and the camera is a pain, but I'm able to get it. Just take your time. You'll get it apart. It's not that hard. There's the camera. After you get the camera done, you can leave it alone. I pull the power line lead. After I pull the power lead, then I can lay this off to the side. This is the back of your radio. Also, a good tip here. If you've ever wanted to learn how to adjust the spring tension on your gimbals, see how the gimbals? There's a little spring tension adjust here. You can just loosen the screw on both of these, and that adjusts your spring tension on your gimbals. Brother Dave just stepped in during our video here. Now, we'll get into turning the radio down. This is also a good time to check and make sure you don't have any wires or anything unsoldered. I noticed on my IX14 that one of the wires came unsoldered. This is where your touch haptics is fed from on the center sticks. But as you see right here, this is your throttle gimbal, this is your ratcheting strap, and this is your tension strap, okay? And what we do is we simply pull this middle screw out, and as you see, this IX has heat shrink on here. My IX14 had nothing. My old DX9 had nothing there, but I've just learned that the NX today had heat shrink on there as well. We pull this one screw to release this, and once the screw's off, undo the tabs right here, and lay the screw down, and you'll see that this is your strap. See the little bit of grease that's on there? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this heat shrink off, and I'm gonna put Teflon on there and hold it on with a piece of another heat shrink. So I get my hobby knife, if I can find it. Sorry, I thought I had all my tools and stuff out. Set this aside. And I like to turn it over on the back side so I don't scratch the face of the strap. I'm just going to take a hobby knife and score that heat shrink. And off comes the heat shrink. There you go. Now, next thing, clean this up. There's nothing really dirt on or anything, but we're going to take some simply 1/8 inch heat shrink here and cut a couple little, probably 3/8, 1/4 inch long pieces. Ryan's coaching me with getting the video right here, and cut another short one. Okay, and then I'm going to get my heat shrink out here. My Teflon out here. I'm going to cut a little sliver. So this is the Teflon sheet. It's very thin, very easy to move. I'm just going to cut a little sliver off. And it doesn't have to be big. So here is the Teflon strip versus the heat shrink. And I'm going to add a couple photos to this video when I edit it later, and you'll be able to see a little better. So I'm going to apply the Teflon onto the piece here, and I see that's a little long. I like it to be a little bit on the flat. I want it to be a little bit shorter, so I'm going to shorten it a little bit. Good sharp scissors are your friend. And then I'm going to take the heat shrink, go right over one of them, get it down, work it down to the end, and I'm going to hold it right there, get it where I like it. Then I'm going to use Ryan's little lighter here, just use the heat, not the flame. A little windy out here today at Fredericksburg Area RC Club. You can probably hear the Flex RV8 in the background. Ryan, where'd Mike go? Okay. The metal strap will get a little warm while you're doing this. Now the next thing is we'll hold this, see the gap now where the Teflon is? So we're going to hold that down, and I'm going to get the other piece of heat shrink, go right down over it. And go right down over it, and I'm going to heat it again here. If it doesn't give you a hint of advice that this is not something that you should try out or wasn't thought of, Horizon apparently picked up on it, because why would they think to install the heat shrink? I wish they could have gone in and just put the Teflon. But so if the factory knows something, or they wouldn't have applied this. But it wouldn't have taken much to go on ahead and done something like this. All right, now the next thing is, and we tried this with Ryan's, and I think I'm going to try it with Mike's if he gives me the nod. Would you like to add the grease with the Teflon or no?
What's the benefit in it? Is it
I've
just a little
we'll
bit?
just use a little bit of grease, Ryan says. So I'm done with putting my tools up here. And done with the lighter. Here's that. This, don't need that. Here's the screw. All right, scissors put away. What I will do is I will take a very nice clean flat blade. Ryan, try and get in on this. So I'm going to get the grease off of the ratchet and then apply a little bit of grease through here. Just some of the factory lube. Looks a lot like the dielectric grease in my opinion. And then we're simply going to put, so you see how we just have that Teflon strip on this one side. And right on in. And I'm going to set it down and put the screw back in. Be careful when putting the screw in. Mike's IX20 here. It has the aluminum gimbals, so he's got a little bit more meat to hold on to when the screw goes in, but you'll have, on a normal non-SE transmitter, you will have plastic post for that screw to go in on. Then I make sure the alignment, which it is good, and then I simply start to check. Now his is already too loose. I mean, you can see that his is already falling right now because his tension was so low, and the reason is because the Teflon is thinner than the heat shrink that I cut off. So he will have to remove this plug and go to the outer hole. That is your throttle stick tension, is this plug. I said outer hole, but I meant outer away from the, so towards the center of the radio. But you'll see that it's super smooth. The biggest thing about this mod, and I'll go ahead and talk about it real quick before we put it back together, is that Ryan flies helis, and Ryan complained that while his stick was smooth and I helped him work on it a little bit and adjust it, it was smooth while he was moving. But a lot of people, once you leave a stick stop and you go to move it again, it has a stiction in it. And with him flying a 700 heli, inverted, hovering, inches off the grass, that little bit of stiction was enough to make him nervous. And so I found that one to help him out and get him moving better with his heli. And he really likes it also. With what he feels with his airplane today. He's been flying his Skywing Edge also. Well, now I'm going to start putting the radio back together. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the camera back in. Only IX20s and IX20 SEs have cameras at the time of this video being made. And then the next thing is this battery connector. Nice snap in. And ribbon cables is where I really take my time. Make sure them flaps are up. Get that ribbon in all the way. And then after you snap it,
batteries out his rock from Michigan and the cold.
Oh yeah.
And then he tested his warm ones.
I've been known to put them in, take them out, put them in, take them out. So I like the way they are sitting. And there they are. You want to make sure they're nice and perpendicular and they're centered and clamped down. Then what we'll do is we'll carefully double check. Mike brought up a good point, and I'll talk about that now. When he had this apart, looking at his gimbals one time, he was looking at things. He noticed that these wires, when he was moving his sticks up and down, that these wires were snug and tight. Go ahead and take time to bend these out and move those around a little bit, and make sure that those aren't in the way of your gimbals moving. I think on the old DX20 there was a technical service bulletin, if there is such a thing for a Spektrum radio, out where the old DX20s were catching the ribbons, cables. So check this antenna. Of course, your antenna may vary, and start to carefully just put this back together while checking all seams. And that's it. Now, what you can do is you can go ahead and put the battery back in if you want, or I'd at least put a couple screws in before we put the battery back on, and then you can power it up and make sure everything works correctly.
So I predict you're going to get your pilot built flat, and then you're going to be calling these
Not that hard. I'll try and edit this video to shorten it up. A little tip on the screws and plastic. After you put the screw in, always back the screw up a little bit until you feel a pop and you know you found the threads to the right spot. So somebody's honking radio over there. Sorry, got a heli in the background. It's a normal day at our flying field here today. We actually caught a nice weather day here in Virginia, almost 60 degrees in December. Pinch that wire. Mike wouldn't be happy with me. not settle down right.
How to maintain rust. If I had more time to visit, getting down here. This one definitely has more flex to weight ratio.
Do not like the way that wire keeps going in there, Mike. If you have a non-20 radio, the 20 comes with this case here. And just wanted to get Mike's just right because
Tyler is fine with you.
Oh, yeah.
taking me longer to mess with the battery, Ryan and Mike, than
That's okay. It's the power of editing.
much better. When you feel that force and stop and pause, you're going to shear that wire. So put one screw in. Mike, where's our small screws for the... There we go. Nice little 1.5s. I really love this about the 20. No other... I've always worried about the weak battery doors on other Spektrum radios. They nailed it with this 20. So I guess we can call it today. We can call this the tailgate Teflon mod. As we Marshall's dad humor. Okay, there we go. So this is a little soft. Remember I told you about it, a little soft? So I'm gonna go ahead and boot him up here. And while we're booting up, I'm gonna try and reach in here and get that plug out. It's a really sharp hobby knife and just work around it so you don't damage the plastic like that. And then I usually like my 0 screwdriver, Mike. There it is. I think it's a 0. So I like these WIA. This is a PHO WIA versus this was the PH1. So this is a 0 Phillips made by WIA. I love these German screwdrivers. So we're gonna go right in here. We're gonna tighten up that. And I like to count my turns. So I'm gonna face the label towards me. And I'm gonna give Mike, I'm gonna give him about 2 rounds. There's 1, there's 2. We're still pretty loose. No, we'll let him try that right there. What? That's the Teflon mod. Thank y'all for watching. Check us out. Watch our other videos. A little different something for the channel today. Please like and subscribe. Ryan, Mike, and Marshall out. Peace.